Since we started with the opening statements with Kelty, we'll start with the first question with Bill. So I'm just going to randomly draw a question out of the box. Question number 1. Could Truro make empty space available for community gardens to help the food bank, or just to give people the opportunity to grow their own food?
Yes.
Okay. Kelty, do you need the question repeated?
No, I think I can remember it from that.
Okay.
It's been a long time since I heard it, but I think I can handle that. I absolutely agree. I think having community space available for gardening is an excellent use of resources that are available. You have to make sure that you've got all of the different safety precautions in place and that you have support there so that they don't become problems or places that are started and then not finished. But we have phenomenal support for community gardening right here in this community and in this area. The agricultural campus has a lot of resources available. We have lots of experts in the community, and I think it's an excellent plan.
Okay, question number 2. Kelty, what should be done with the former Colchester Hospital site?
Oh, there's all kinds of things we could do with the former Colchester Hospital site. I think probably the first thing that we would need to do is really have an assessment of the condition of the building and make sure that we know, what's going on there. Are there major repairs that need to happen? Are there parts of the building that are more usable than other parts? And then I'd involve the community in taking a look at what are our needs, what are our needs for big spaces, what are some of the community agencies that could benefit from using that space. And have all of that input brought in a way that gives us some really creative solutions for it.
Bill, what do you think should be done with the former Colchester Hospital site?
That's been one that's been on my agenda for a while. I know that in checking with the people at the hospital, plans have been taken out, so a group can have a look at those plans to see what's involved. Certainly, as far as the town is concerned, to tear down the facility would be in the range of about $1 million. That's $1 million I'm not prepared to spend for demolition of that building. I think the building is in relatively good shape, built in 1964, and certainly anything from assisted care, perhaps some commercial work inside, and a few other things, probably all will be on the list. And it's a rather substantial site, and whoever is going to take it over certainly is going to have deep pockets, but I think I guess you could say that whole thing is in process now, and people are looking at it. And I knew that about 10 years ago. I did have a call from a local businessman asking what we plan to do with it, and said, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, and that will determine which way it goes. But definitely, I think it's a big asset for our community.
Okay, question number 3. We'll start with Bill this time. Backyard poultry flocks and having other farm animals within town limits has become a controversial issue in many municipalities. What are your thoughts on this? What should be allowed and what shouldn't?
That's an interesting question, and in the light of all the other issues I deal with, it's one of the ones that, there's a reason why animals are not allowed in town. It's basically a public health issue. And certainly when people start off with the process, I understand there's a few people in town that do have chickens in their backyard and so on and so forth. Hip, hip, as long as they keep the cages clean and free of perhaps access to rodents and things of this nature, then we shouldn't have a problem. It's when they build these things and they fall into disrepair and then pose a risk to other community members, particularly your neighbors, that's when it becomes an issue. So these things usually do start off with good intentions, but they have to be maintained. So if people maintain them, I do believe we just had a review of that bylaw not too long ago, and so they should be on the books. So, and it depends on the size of the animal and a lot of other variables too.
And Kelty, what are your thoughts on backyard poultry flocks and having other farm animals? What should and shouldn't be allowed within town limits?
Well, I think we actually do have quite a clear bylaw on that's been updated recently, and it's also, it takes into consideration neighbors and condition, but it also recognizes the fact that there are really good uses for various small farm animals that can be used effectively within our community. And we have many places in our community where the lots are very small and close together that it wouldn't be appropriate, but we also have a lot of places where there's plenty of space on a family's lot to be able to house some of these animals and to create an opportunity for them to be more sustainable and to have the chance to produce their own eggs and to produce their own food in a way that really connects people to where their food is coming from. So I know several people in town who are actually doing this, and they're quite effective. We have bylaw enforcement officer who's in place who can certainly follow up on any problems or complaints. And I think with definite oversight from the town and a very clear policy, we can certainly facilitate this happening in the town.
If I may add one thing, I think the big balance on this whole issue is that consideration of your neighbor. That has to be first and foremost. So, there's things such as allergies, and if you use disinfectants and things of this nature, people who are sensitive, if you will, and these type of things. So it all comes under consideration of your neighbor when you do this.
Bill, I'm going to count that as a rebuttal, but please next time just flash the white card.
Not a problem.
Thank you. And we'll move on to our next question. And we will start with Kelty this time. The issue of the scrapyard in downtown Truro has been in the news for years now. Do you believe it should be moved? And if so, who should pay for it? If you don't believe it should be moved, please explain why.
And I have to say, when we first moved to town, we live on Burnett Street. It was one of the first things that caught my eye as we were driving up to our new house. I thought, wonder what that is. It's a site that was appropriate at the time that it started. It was a business that has grown and evolved, and in some ways that's good. We want businesses to grow and evolve. However, it has developed into a situation where it's not compatible with the neighborhood. However, it's a complex issue. It involves property rights, it involves business operations, it involves potential remediation of toxics in the area. One of the science fair projects I judged last year was a student who'd done just a very simple test of testing the water quality of Leopard Creek from Victoria Park all the way down past John Ross and Sons, and noted just with the simple tests he was doing as a student in grade 6 or grade 7, found some definite differences. So there are problems there, and there are problems that are not easy to fix, and it's not an easy solution. I know that the town has been working on it for a significant period of time. There's been lots of discussions. For whatever reasons, they've broken down. There's been some challenges and issues in the courts, but I think it's worth pursuing. It's certainly not something that we should give up. I think we can find a creative solution that works for the property owner and works for the town, and sets it up in a way that can make it a productive space again, as opposed to a space that creates a lot of tension in that community.
Bill, do you think the scrapyard in downtown Truro should be moved? And if so, who should pay for it? And if not, please explain why.
Well, certainly we've been working on this for a number of years, as long as I've been on council, which is about 24 years in Truro. And, this whole issue, again, as pointed out, there's a remediation cost to that. And we're talking lots and lots of money. And is the town prepared to pick up that cost? It might take about $1 million or more to make an offer to John Ross to move, and I'm not 100% sure that he would pick that up. And for people who suggest that the town has done nothing, that's not true. When we get ordered by a judge of the Nova Scotia court to back off because we're harassing John Ross and Sons, then you know that we certainly have pushed the issue. And we've had meetings. We're going to try to move them up the industrial park. Certainly you've got an issue up in the park. When you face 25 to 30 angry residents of the industrial park and nearby residents, that we're going to move that up to their area, not a very pleasant thing to face. And then you have your council who comes up publicly in the paper and says, you shouldn't be dealing with this with taxpayers' money. So you're going to have to build some consensus, and it's going to have to be a major decision by council to take a very serious look at it and also decide if they're going to do this or not, okay? So we're open for that discussion any day, and I will give kudos to Councillor Byers. Certainly, first and foremost, was on the front line of that fight.